All right, welcome everyone who is on our TikTok, and we just started our YouTube live here. This video is going to be a Bitcoin update and a crypto market update together. We're going to look over BTC because it has tested our support here for the third time. It's seeing lower lows continuously pushing the price down, and then for a lot of these alts, they are looking like in a potential area where we could be looking for shorts. So like always, we'll go over with BTC first, and then we'll make our rounds to the other alts. So first, I'm just going to get a little drink, and then we will start with BTC. All right, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is Bitcoin. Let's go on the daily chart first. Not the Heiken Ashi, but the normal candles, and just go over what the price has been doing. So let's get our snip and go over what we could see within the kind of next few weeks here and what's happened recently. So we had that descending triangle that was on top of our strong area of confluence for an area of support right there. We did break down below the area of support. We did not get any pullback whatsoever back down to retest this area right here. We got a straight move to the downside, no pullback. So that shows me that there's a strong level of sell pressure and sell confidence and conviction pushing the price down to our next level of support. Now, we didn't put this level of support right away. What we did is we initially drew this ascending trend line, which had an anchor point right here, and then you had the second touch point right here, creating a not really a potentially dependable zone. And then once we get the third validation that this could be a zone of sensitivity, which we got right here, then we can make it a potentially dependable area. 4 touches would make it a dependable area. But 3 touches, it looks pretty well valid here. We see a very nice anchor point, and then a second touch, very clear, 2 type A's, and then we're now getting another reaction to this area as well. And then what we found is once we saw that there was some consolidation and some reaction, we looked to the left of the chart, saw that it was a previous level of support, and then it turned into a resistance before breaking out and pushing towards the upside. And then we can also see that it was a previous level of support turning into resistance, and it was the structural resistance at this consolidation phase right here as well. So we can see that it's a key zone on the chart, and we can use it to create a zone of confluence that they're currently we are seeing right here, where the price has been holding a support, but with how the current daily candle looks, very bearish. We see strong sell volume increasing coming into the market. We did see a decent amount of buy volume coming in once we did hold that support, but overall definitely looking more bearish. So we don't want to make our decision off of the daily. We do have an area of support right here. So, that couldn't be a super far fall. It could be a nice 5-minute or day trade, but for swing trades, I still think shorts, unless we get a pullback to around this zone, for me personally, would be a little bit off the table. Because in order for me to short at this point, you could go here, but my personal opinion is because we're looking at the long-term chart on the weekly and daily, I don't personally think that we are going to get the price to go further down. And obviously, that's just a bias I have. It's a possibility, but looking at the long-term, decade-long ascending curved trend line that we have on BLX, like we can see, that's dated all the way back until 2011, we can easily see that we have a zone of confluence here that has a high probability of buyers in the area, because we've seen in the past that this ascending curve trend line has been a very valid zone where buyers have been. So in that said, going back to the chart that we were looking at, that zone is around $7,800. So looking at the risk reward that we would have, we would need a pretty limited amount of risk. We would need to risk less than 4%, and then basically get right from where the breakout would be to the very, very low, and that would be a risk reward of 2. And for me, unless you're looking at a small time frame and you're still able to get that reward of 9%, but you're able to maybe risk 3% or 2%, obviously that would be phenomenal because your risk reward would be above 3, and that is great. But 9% is kind of the max amount of profit I think that is going to be able to be captured on the downside. And that's just a bias I have because of the larger time frame structure, creating this strong horizontal level of demand. So not saying that I'm 100% right and I can guarantee it. Nothing in the markets is guaranteed, but it's just a personal opinion that I have from staring at the charts for many BLX anyways, for many hours. Analyze that thing as much as I possibly can. So anyways, going back to what we're seeing right now, we do have a minor level right here, and we have to understand that. So that also could be a zone where buyers could be located. But for the main level of demand, like I said, I am looking at this $77, $70, $100 level. So for now, we are still looking for shorts, 100%, no longs just yet. We're potentially looking for any longs here as a consolidation and then a push up, so we could get the push down and then we get a pullback to confirm the previous support as a new resistance. That was kind of the idea, but we never really got that pullback. So, what we were looking for here is a descending zone and the price to potentially move to the upside, breaking resistances and then breaking to potentially retest this zone. Fortunately, we didn't get it. So right now, we are looking for shorts. We see a descending zone here connecting the lower highs. So we'll try to find a nice trend line that is going to connect the highs there on the 4 hour and 1 hour. But for the daily, that's about the analysis that we're going to be doing. So looking for shorts. We know that on the larger time frame, we are now kind of in an uptrend like we saw on BLX. We bottomed out. We made a strong first move to the upside. We hit a consolidation, and now we're kind of getting into the second solid push, testing the previous resistance that ended our bull run on the monthly, looking at the candle closures at around 14K. So we pushed once, hit it, came right back down. We tested the green ascending support, and now we're kind of making our way. Probably going to be holding a higher low than we did initially. That's why I think that we are going to be holding the previous level of resistance around 78. And then we're going to slowly creep back up and break this 11, 12-ish K level of resistance. So, in that said, we will now go to the 4 hour chart, because right now we can't really dissect this too much other than just looking at the candlesticks and looking at the volume with the price moving up and to the downside. So just initially looking at the volume, we do see that there's definitely more sell pressure than buy pressure on the way down than on the way up, but we do see that there was a decent amount of buyers when the price did hit this area. Recently, we've seen very strong volume accumulation with strong bullish candles compared to bearish candles, but recently, other than this one, like we went here, we saw a significant decrease in buy pressure, like we can see here, and then we saw an increase in sell pressure. But once we got this candle, we did get a lot of sell pressure, like we can see here, but that candle did signify that there are bulls in the area. Got to be a little bit cautious, and when we go on these smaller time frames, we will discuss the strong push that we had at this candle here. So looking at the 4 hour, we've been holding a really strong, well-respected support at around 85.60, from around 85.30 to maybe 86. And we do see back in the historic time frames, it was a strong level of support before, and then this is that other level of support if we do break down to it. So, oops, I didn't click properly there. So this is the other zone. So if we do break, that's going to be the next area, and then we got our major level of support that we're looking at, which is going to be this area right here. Just going to be putting in our two zones here. So right now we're seeing the price make lower highs, pushing the price lower and lower. we're getting solid rejections. Look at this candle right here with a very significant rejection. The price came up, tried to make a higher high, got rejected, got slammed right back down, and closed with significant bearish pressure, and a lot of transactions taking place in that 4-hour time frame. And then overall, when we do look at the candles and the volume here, let's just go like here, we can see that there's a lot of activity within this zone. We see, look how much the price moved within this area. Massive bearish candle, strong bullish candle with a huge wick to the downside, signifying that there are bulls in the area. We got a little push to the upside. We got stopped out by the previous support here, looks like new level of resistance, and then we slammed back down. Very little amount of demand within these couple candles here, within more supply. So that's definitely a no demand candle right there. And then we got to slam back down. And then now what we're seeing now is we got an attempt to make a lower low right here, where the candle tried to push below the zone, but within that 4-hour candle, the buyers picked it back up and basically closed the price almost at the open. So there are still definitely buyers in the market. We do see that sell pressure is picking up, but we will look on the smaller time frames to see how this currently looks. But at this point in time, the 85.90 zone is holding as a support. I definitely want to be careful of any descending zones because you can easily get faked out on smaller time frames. But we do see a nice descending trend line here that we could use. We want to ensure that the price is going to break either below the level of support or above the descending zone that we're creating right now. And we also will need to see a market structure higher high. So then we're also going to incorporate this zone as well. So let's put this like so. Actually, I'm not really gonna, I'm just going to make, I'm going to keep that where it is. I'm going to keep that where it is. So on the 4-hour, hopefully it's easy to see. So this is the plan on the 4-hour here. So we made a strong move to the downside. So the market needs to make indications of the price moving, either from the downside to the upside or from the upside to the downside. And sometimes these transitions are very quick, and sometimes they're very easy to understand. Sometimes the price spikes down very quickly and it rallies right back up. And you know, it can be challenging to understand that shift right there and when that shift truly has occurred. Like, when is it a pullback into a point where, okay, this is actually rallying, or it's just a pullback for another move to the downside. But in this current situation, it's quite a bit easier because now we've made a move to the downside and now we're consolidating at a level of support. So now we see a support hold multiple times. So for the lows, we're moving horizontally already. Now for the highs, we're still getting pushed down. So we're still getting lower highs with the horizontal zone getting supported like we see right here. So the sellers are still in charge. The sellers are still trying to push the price down, but we're getting the buyers to hold this area right here. So right now we're getting a descending triangle. Now this is normally a bearish pattern because obviously the highs are getting pushed down, indicating that sellers are taking control, pushing the price, driving it lower and lower. But if the price is able to break this horizontal zone of supply or resistance, then we could potentially get a market structure because the market is moving to the downside. We're making lower lows and lower highs, and then we hit an area where there's buy pressure. We're seeing that right now. Lots of buy pressure holding the price up. If we're able to make a market structure shift from a consolidation zone like what we're seeing right here into a potential market structure higher high and a higher low, we could potentially see that market structure shift. And that is what we're looking for. And we're also within this range right here, looking at the volume, looking at the supply and demand to see if it is volume accumulation or volume distribution. So At this point in time, looking at the different exchanges, I definitely think that there's more sell pressure within the market than buy pressure. On this exchange, we can see on the 4-hour of this exchange, we see there's a lot more sell pressure than buy pressure. Look at the different time frames, not even a daily candle on the Heikin Ashi for the chart there. And let's look at the Gemini on the 4-hour and then the 1-hour. Definitely seeing some bullish pressure a little bit more recently, but overall it is seemingly more bearish. So let's just keep that there. And then we'll also look at the CME futures. We got quite a bit of no demand candles here. So these are going to be the no demand candles. This guy right here, because we see a very lacking amount of volume for the upside, and then we saw a slam right back down. And then this is not truly a no demand candle because of the previous amount of volume being the same or a little less than what we could potentially see as a no demand candle. So that's not a true no demand candle, but we are seeing a very lacking amount of buy pressure when we do get that pullback to our resistance zone. So on the CME futures as well, we are seeing a correction here, but not seeing we're seeing a decreasing amount of sell pressure. And then looking at the run-up from November 2019, we're seeing significantly increasing buy pressure. So looking at the CME futures, that's why I was looking at this, not extensively just on this, but I was looking at this, seeing the consolidation at this zone, seeing the buy pressure pick the price back up. That was where I was looking to potentially see that continuation to the upside because we saw so much buy pressure, but at this point in time, we're not seeing that many buyers enter the market. So that's basically the 4-hour. That's my view of it. So we need to see the market structure turn from sideways, like we see here, into a potentially lower low. Then we're looking for a lower high formation to probably test this descending zone yet again for a zone of confluence where you have the horizontal zone of support turning into new resistance, and we also have the descending zone turning into a same level of resistance as well, giving us a higher probability of the price respecting that zone. So got the two options here. If we break to the upside and if we break above this descending zone, we're not instantly looking to long. We're not, because yes, you could say it broke above this zone, but we have a strong level right here. And even if we break above that, we have a strong level right here. We have to remember we're in a very strong downtrend. We're not looking for long, strong pushes to the upside yet. We don't see it within the volume. We don't see it within the price action. We don't see it within breaking of any real zones. There's no real indication for us right now telling us that the price is going to explode to the upside, in my opinion. So we're going to have to trade with the trend. We know the momentum, the trend, the sentiment, everything is bearish, so we have to understand that. If we break here, yeah, we could see a little pop if we break and then pull back and then come up to around this zone here, 100%. That could be a possibility. But, you know, on looking at the 5-minute chart, that could be a good opportunity for an alt from maybe where it broke to pull back and then from a low to a high. But for a swing trade at this point in time, I think the best thing to do is just play it safe, wait for this price action pattern to complete, because entering, you know, at the low here, you're not breaking the support. If you're entering short here, you could hold that support and then obviously you're going to be in a losing trade. Or if you long, you could obviously go down that way and then you're in a losing trade as well. So I think it's best to actually just wait, be patient, wait for this price action confirmation. It'll inevitably have to break. That is the apex, so it's going to come soon enough. So we'll just trade what this is going to show us. So we're going to try to stick to the larger time frames for this price action pattern. So I drew a couple trend lines here because I didn't know exactly where the trend line was going to be. It's a little bit easier to identify on the 4-hour, so I might switch this to the 4-hour, but I saw a couple on the 1-hour, and I drew a couple of these. And let's just talk about the two trend lines that I drew. They both were respected. Obviously, we see one that is a lot more respected than the other. And then we'll also just talk about the horizontal demand zone that we currently see. So This is the less respected descending trend line with the anchor point. The first touch, second touch, and then we see the third touch, fourth touch, and then we see respect here. So then right after, at this point right here, we broke above the zone, right? But then we, after 2 candles, broke right below the zone, and then we held it for a resistance and pushed back to our support. We held the support, and then we pushed up and got a little bit of a bullish move here. Went like this, got a bit of a bullish move, and then we hit our second resistance zone, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then we held that, came back down, tested this zone of support, held that for a little while, came right back down, and then yet again held this level of support. So there are valid zones on both trend lines, and we're currently above our last level of support before, well, A, the horizontal zone, and B, the descending zone. If we're going to fall down below here, I think we will get a sharp move to the downside. So that will be something to be looking for if we do get a break, is a potential pullback on this descending line on the way down. And it could just be one small, like here, and it could be a little no demand candle on a previous support, new resistance in confluence with the trend line. We don't exactly know, but if you see a strong bearish move to the downside with strong bearish volume, and then on the way up you see very little demand compared to the previous couple candles here, that will indicate that that is a no demand candle, and that would be a good possibility for a short. And then you just put your stop loss here. You can put your stop loss a little bit higher if you want, but that would basically be the entry for the short, and then you'd look to take your profits at some predetermined level with a risk reward that you are happy with. So that is option number 1. If we do get a short, is we'd use this descending trend line because it's pretty well respected here on the chart. If we break, we could see the price respect this one more time before we get a move to the downside, and then we have our current level of resistance that the price is still holding. I will just put this at the 4 hour to see where I put it on here. Okay, so I put it on here, and I went like this. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, I'm happy with. I'm just gonna refine it a little bit because it was on the 4 hour, and I'd like to do it on the 1 hour. So refining it a little bit, sort of like, I think I might move this to this high, because I did like it with the candle type B at that zone right there. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that area. All right, so I'll put a projection on one of them. This is the kind of further away zone that we need to break. And we also have, there we go. I'm gonna move it a little bit more to the upside here. So that's the zone that we should be wanting to break to at least some level of bullish sentiment. And then if we're able to break this horizontal zone, that for me would be a possibility of a move from the 87.50 range to around the 89 range, which is around like 1.8%, which is obviously not a huge move. But if you are looking at alts, they could move maybe 3-4%, and if you're risking 1%, that would be a phenomenal entry. But for now, I think at this point in time, we are at a low. It's looking weaker. You know, we did hold this support multiple times, so that is good to see. We see the initial support get bounced first time and the second time. And if we do really want to get nitty-gritty, we did hold an initial support. We broke it, and then now we do see it as a nice new level of resistance. So we can even refine it even more if we really wanted to. And then let's just talk about market structure here, and then kind of discuss the different alts that we're going to go through. So, like I said, we got 2 descending zones. I got this minor one here, but like I said before, we could still be breaking this zone and then get stuffed on this zone. So because of the bearish momentum, the bearish pressure, I'm looking for more shorts. It just makes sense. look how far we flew down. That's a huge move down. That's not something that's small, right? And then not only did we not see any pullback, but now we're seeing another potential move to the downside with lots of bearish pressure keeping the price lower. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to be looking for longs at this point. Now, if we see a potential hold of this level of support, then obviously we'd be looking for longs. If we are able to hold, start seeing some higher lows and higher highs, we can maybe get a couple entries at the supports if they hold with 2-3 injections of buy pressure, and once you're able to see the buy pressure come into the market, then you can look to potentially enter here. Give me one moment, because it says my live stream is off. Okay. It said my live stream was offline, but it seems like my live stream has been working and has been live. So that's good. Okay, so continuing on with the tools now that we use for analyzing BTC. I'm just going to quickly get a glass of coffee. All right, I'm just making sure. I'm trying to look at some questions here. So now we're going to go to the tools that we're using to analyze the buyers and sellers in the market. So this is the first tool that we're going to be using. Just trying to find a spot. Okay, there we go. That's a good spot. So the top chart right here is going to be representing the number of margin longs that were opened on Bitfinex. So people who open long positions using margin in BTC. This is what that represents. And we saw a surge in buy pressure and margin buy pressure in late November. And then we saw a strong move to the upside. That's what started our breakout from the reverse head and shoulders around late November, early December, and then we hit a strong level of resistance initially, and then this was the correction from the $9,100 resistance back to like the 86, and then we got the bulls to come back yet again, retest this exact resistance, and then now we're falling right back down. So we're getting a lot of volatility from the bulls here within Bitfinex. We're seeing the margin position back down to basically where it was at the low here, but we can see we held this area as a resistance multiple times, and now we're holding it as a nice new level of support. So that is good to see. That is a market structure shift where the confidence is now higher overall, even at the low points, much more than what we saw before. So that's good to see for the bulls. And looking at now the shorts, so this is the number of margin shorts that were opened on Bitfinex exchange, and we can see they're not getting a significant amount of shorts. We saw recently there was a collapse in the amount of shorts that were open. I guess someone closed a lot of shorts. But we can see that at this zone, there's an area in which there's the amount of margin shorts do not really go above. And it could be a psychological zone. But we can see that there was a shift here where at this point, there was a psychological area where there was a lot of short sellers keeping the price above a certain area. Because every single time we went down to a certain low, there was more short sellers opening positions. Now, it's the flip side, right? Because we broke that. That was a zone. We broke that support and turned it into a new resistance. Exact same thing, but flipped on BTC. We saw a previous resistance equal new level of support, like we talked about. And it's not directly correlated, right? The shift happened here for the shorts and here for the longs from July till November. So, that was a long consolidation period for BTC, where in July it was kind of the peak. It was the I think around almost 14K-ish range. I don't exactly know, but I know in summer we peaked there, and then in the later half of summer and then fall we tumbled down, and that's exactly what we saw here, where the short sellers all got out because they got squeezed out because they obviously didn't think that BTC was going to be climbing as high as it did, breaking 6K without a problem, breaking 7K, 10K, 12K without a problem. It was pretty unbelievable. And then they finally got squeezed out, and their confidence just has not come back since. And BTC's confidence has been not really only seeing growth, but has seen significant volatility and moving to the upside and pressure, and more people looking to margin long than really ever back in previous historic times. So looking at just what we're able to see, there's no direct real relationship between the two, but I think that it's helpful looking at the story that these two are telling us and somewhat building a relationship. They're not going to be directly correlated, but being able to view them on the same chart side by side with the dates exactly lined up, I think does help. So the final thing we're going to be looking at is the coin farm margin longs and shorts. Like always, we know what to do. We're looking at the 24-hour and then the 1 hour. So this is a longer term time frame. We're looking to see the percentage of people who went long on margin or short on margin on different exchanges. So it's going to be a percentage out of 100. So it's only going to be either 50%, 50-50, or whatever the imbalance is. So on BitMEX, imbalance is more to the short side, 53% short, whereas 47% long. Binance is more weighted towards the short side, 52% more towards the short side. Bybit is more towards the short side as well, 53.5% to the short side. So definitely on the 24-hour exchange, we can see that the shorts are definitely having more control. On the smaller time frame, looking at just the 1 hour margined positions that are opened on the different exchanges, we see yet again the shorts have control. 60.5% on BitMEX basically for shorts, 55% on Binance for shorts, and 58% on Bybit for shorts. So on both the 24-hour and on the 1 hour, we see that the shorts have control, the shorts have confidence, and more people are opening margin trades to the short side. So this could mean that if we got a strong move to the upside, there could be a short squeeze, which would then mean that the price would then shoot up significantly if there is a move to the upside, because everyone who now shorted needs to get out of this short in order to limit their losses. Stop losses, market orders, getting out of the market, whatever it needs to be, the short sellers will do it because they need to get out of the market. They need to manage their risk, and if a short seller is not managing their risk, just tell them to look at Tesla, and I'm sure that they will rethink their actions. So that is the overall analysis. Definitely on the tools that we're using, the shorts look like they have more control, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get an instant move to the downside. We've already discussed the potential here. I think when we do look at the alts, they will present us a little bit better of an opportunity compared to what BTC is presenting us with right now. It's a little bit messy. We could just delete this chart, this trend line right here, and just look for a lower low, and then a lower high formation. That could work as well. I think that's what the plan is for me, at least. But I'm not going to do anything until we see a break of this zone, because at this point in time, I am still uncertain if we're going to go lower. If I'm shorting an alt on the small time frames and BTC is holding this low, that alt is not going to drop lower, and that'll just be a losing trade, and obviously we don't want that. So we're going to be very patient for this upcoming week here, and we're going to see how BTC reacts to this key level of support. If it breaks, we're going to be shorting. 100% we are looking to short if it breaks this zone. But if it is able to hold and we're not able to see the price go below the zone, well, then we can be in a accumulation phase. And then we'll look at the volume. If there's more buyers within the market than sellers within the consolidation, we could then potentially say that it's an accumulation phase, and then we're looking to enter at the start of the markup phase, or at least to look to enter in some price action patterns that are going to carry the momentum on the reaccumulation phases, like the symmetrical triangles or wedges or channels, flags. All that stuff is fair game. So we will see how the price reacts to the zone. Like I said, if we're going to get a drop, then we have a confirmation, yes, we're broken the zone. We're seeing lower lows and low, like we're slowly grinding down here. So we are holding a level of support, which is great. Or sorry, a level of resistance. So we know where the price is. But, if we look at the previous times that we broke and really pushed down, it's going to be this zone right here. Or it's going to be this zone right here. We had a massive crack. And then we held the support, and look how long we held that support here. So for me, I'm looking for that level of support. And this was just unfortunate because it cracked down after a key level of support pullback. We obviously didn't get any sort of validation that there were sellers in the market. So for us, we shouldn't be looking for entries here at all until we get a validation. But looking at what happened after we saw the strong move from the $9,600 zone all the way to the 8K or 78K zone, we saw the price basically push down significantly, and then we saw a squeeze. And this is kind of the squeeze that we're seeing right now, where we're holding a level of support. We see that right here, right? We're holding a level of support, and the price is squeezing closer to the apex, where you're making lower highs, and the price has to hold a lower. We saw initially like an instant dump, and we see a wick here. Same thing, instant dump, we see a wick here, and then the price makes another dump, but then is able to hold. The price after this point made another dump, made a lower low than this low, but then now the price is holding. So we're seeing a pattern here. So then now we're seeing a descending zone, If we're able to get the price to break above the zone and potentially hit a high, maybe like the high of 89 or 9K, then we can see the consolidation start, like we're seeing right here. And then we know that the market structure has shifted. So then we're going to not be looking for only shorts. Then we're going to be looking to enter longs at the lows and enter more shorts at the highs, right? That makes sense. And then once the market structure shifts, once we see a decrease in volume, then we can potentially look to get a potential shift. Like for example, here, if you entered long, obviously you wouldn't have been able to capture the full profit because the price didn't go all the way here. But hopefully you reduce your risk and then move the price up. But overall, you see at the highs here, you're trying to sell, you're trying to short, and then at the lows, you're trying to long. So that is the market structure that we're looking to potentially make. We'll see how the price reacts, but at this point in time, I don't want to short yet. I want to see if the price is able to consolidate, and then once we have the market structure then in the consolidation, we can then look to shorten our risk reward a little bit more. If you're in trending markets, for example, if you're shorting in a trending market, you can have a higher risk reward because the market is in a trend, right? It makes sense. But if you are in a consolidation where you're just bouncing from resistance to support, it kind of doesn't make sense to have your take profits above or below where the consolidation is, because you don't have a high probability situation of breaking it unless you're assuming that it's, for example, a triple top or something, and then you're hopefully going to get the break to the downside. But it kind of makes sense to take profit and within the consolidation to get the highest probability of taking profits. You can always let profits run if it does break, but usually I try to kind of keep it within the consolidation. So for now, that's my outlook on the price action for BTC anyways. So I don't want to enter just yet. Like I said, I want to see if it's going to break. I want to see it break this zone before I look to enter. So for next week, we'll see what it does. Like we talked about in the 4 hour, let's just break this down a little bit more. So this is for this upcoming week. So, we're seeing lower highs like this. We're seeing a support. So then let's just get the price to be green. So we initially got a dump down, and then we got another dump down. And then we're kind of coming and forming into this zone. So we don't want to, let's get the thing here. So we don't want to just enter right at the break here. We don't, right? Because of market structure. we could wait until we break this previous resistance, right? And then hold it for a nice new level of support. And once we have validation that there's a level of support there, then we'd be a little bit more interested. But at this point in time, we're just squeezing towards the apex. The apex is where the two lines come together at a central point. So not much to do with taking action right now. I just wanted to give a really good understanding for people who might not really know our trading methods or anything like that. But that is the overall analysis for BTC. We're going to remain patient. We're going to wait until something happens here. So we don't know if it's going to break to the downside or upside. I don't want to set a bias. I'm going to trade what the price action is going to show me. I'm going to trade what it is going to do, and that's basically my plan. You know, if it breaks to the downside, we're looking short, capturing some profits until the around $7,800 zone, or I think is going to be the next major level of support. And then if we break the descending resistance, we're looking for a market structure higher high, and then potentially some longs. But like we said before, I'm mainly looking to then see the market structure shift from a descending zone to a horizontal zone. And then for me, that would then shift the way I trade in order to capitalize for whichever market structure we're currently in. So now that we did BTC, let's do some of these alts here. I'm just going to get a quick drink and then we'll be on our way. Alright, so let's start off with XRP and then we'll make our way around. XRP is in a very, very similar situation. We see that the price has been able to hold a level of support. Now, what are these two green lines here? These are going to be the long-term supports that we can currently see on the daily chart. Right here, we saw the support get held. Let's get our arrow. Right here, resistance, support, support, support. So we can see that's a pretty key area within the chart. Now, theoretically, this could be the support. It doesn't need to go all the way down here, but this range, this area is going to be a pretty key area within the chart, so we do have to understand that. And it looks like we're making our next low here. So could be a double bottom. We don't want to enter here, potentially making a double bottom, because obviously we don't have confirmation that there's buyers in the market. And we don't want to short just yet here because we don't have enough confirmation because of BTC. So basically every single alt will follow BTC to some regard, especially the main moves. If you go into the smaller alts, smaller market caps, yes, there will be less correlation, but there will also be less liquidity available as well as higher spread, and overall it's harder to trade within those markets when you are trading a little bit higher amounts of capital. So I try to stick to the larger, more well-known alts. So in that said, a lot of them do stick with BTC's price action. So for the most part, we're going to stick to see what Bitcoin does before we take any action, but we're still going to go over what we're able to find on all of these alts. So on XRP, we've broken below the zone where the hour chart has closed, and the 4 hour still has basically just under 2 hours left, so we haven't really closed it below the zone, but the previous candle did break and close below where the bodies of the candles have been closing, so that's not great in terms of if you are looking for longs. For shorts, that is great. That means that there is sellers pushing and keeping the price down, and at this point it does look like we are pulling back here to form a potential new level of resistance. We got one injection of sell pressure coming already. So let's take a picture and let's talk about it right here. So we already got one injection and looks like we're getting a pullback to see our second injection. So this is that first injection right here. So we got a push down. We got a pullback as an exhaustion move. We got our first push to the downside, And now we're getting our second pullback, and hopefully we're going to see sellers come back and drive that price right back to the downside. And then that will signify that there are sellers in the market at this zone with the previous level of support, I guess right here as well, pushing down into new levels of resistance. So if we are looking for shorts, I think XRP is a good opportunity. We see the price on the hour chart, which is a significant time frame, close below the zone of final support, which we can see here. And we got a range here where we see just wicks touching this area, but then we see the final area with a 1 hour candle closure, which is closing right here, is now our new level of resistance. So definitely more short side on XRP. Now, what if we get a massive move to the upside randomly? I don't know what happens. Let's say we get a strong move to the upside. Well, we got a zone of confluence. We got a anchor point up there. We got our first touch point here. We got our second touch point here. I think we could potentially shift this trend line a little bit to make that third touch point there. So then we have 3 touch points plus the anchor point, making it a valid area that we could depend off of. And if we're getting that, then we're looking for horizontal zones where we're going to have a level of confluence like so. And then we're looking for the price to break the area of confluence, make a higher high, structurally make a higher low, holding this previous market resistance as a new level of support. And that's what we're going to be looking to enter. So that is XRP. Don't think that's going to come anytime soon unless we get some random surge in buy volume. But for now, we are looking to hold below this level of resistance and potentially see that next wave of sell pressure come in. So that's XRP. BNB was a little bit messy, in my opinion, in terms of how it looked. I couldn't really get a perfect descending trend line on there. We're getting the price to come back here to our main structural resistance, which it's not really well respected in the recent price action. The more respected resistance in the recent price action is this zone of $21 to $21.40 to 75 cents ish. And we do have a level of confluence where there are sellers in the market with a descending zone and a horizontal zone, but I don't know if the price is actually going to get it all the way there. Right now what we're seeing is what was a potential ascending channel get broken. So for me, that's not really a valid area that we can use anymore. So at this point in time, we could draw another trend line connecting the lows like that. That's not so bad. I think you can go like that as well. So now we got 3 areas where the price is respecting this area. If we break below this area of support, definitely going to potentially look to short. But at this point in time, we're just in an ascending triangle pattern in a bearish momentum move with lots of resistance ahead of us. So we got our descending zone here, we got our horizontal zone here, creating a zone of confluence for the sell side. We have a very historic zone of sensitivity around $20, both psychologically and just as a key zone within the chart. And then that is creating our zone of resistance. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a lot of sell pressure here. And then we're seeing the anchor point right here. And then we see our first touch, we see our second touch, and then we see our third touch. I don't really classify this as a first touch, so right now in my eyes, I just see it as 3 touches. If we're able to get the price to come back up here, maybe retest this zone and then come back and then push up, then we have a 4th touch, and that is a dependable zone we can use. Once you're breaking that, we're looking for a pullback, like we can see here, forming the previous support as a new resistance, maybe breaking the structure to form a lower low, and then we're looking to enter on the lower high, and then we're going to get a move to the downside potentially. So that is BNB. That's the outlook on BNB. That's what we're looking for. Not really looking for longs on this right now, so that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for the price to, even if it breaks down to here, we're looking for a pullback, and that will be a validation for us. But ideally, we'd like to see what we talked about before. We want to see that price respect this zone, maybe come back up to this zone, or maybe even all the way up to this zone, and then maybe retest one more time. So we get 1, 2, and 3, and then we get the 4th touch there, and then it can do whatever it wants. And once it breaks, we're looking for the previous support to equal to new resistance like so, and then we're looking to enter at the lower high. So it's looking good, coming together. Don't want to enter just yet. If something else happens, we're not going to enter. We have a pretty specific outlook on BNB. Do see a little bit of buy volume coming in here, especially Link. Link's seeing a significant push here. Maybe not on the 1 hour, but definitely on the 5 minute. I'm just seeing what it's pulling back to. So that is those two. Link is going to be the last one. We talked about it yesterday, but let's just push this down. And just making sure that we're not running crazy time here. So hopefully this is a little bit easy to understand in terms of the market structure. I think going to the 4 hour will be a little bit easier to understand. And let's just take everything off and just talk about market structure. So this is the main zone I want to understand. That this is a key zone of demand. There's lots of buy pressure at this area. That's the first thing we understand. We got a nice level of supply. We got a double top, right? And then we move to the downside. We were forming higher lows. That cracked to the downside. After that, we made a strong push to our strong level of demand. Picked it right back up. And then we see the price try to form the same high, but we got stuffed at a recent high right here to form a nice little pattern. Strong push to the downside, strong push right back up. Did not manage to hit a higher high, like so. Did not hit this high. We hit not even this high here, but we hit this high. But overall, we do see more buy volume coming in, so we can see that there's a strong level of buy pressure here. Look how well we saw the buyers pick the price up right when we met this zone. Surges in buy volume, lots of buy volume, picking the price back up. So we know that we're currently now in a range right here. This is the resistance, and this is a strong level of support. We know that for a fact. We also have a mid-range zone, which is going to be right around here. We see that definitely within the chart. So we can see that the price is now within a mid-range zone. So it's a little bit less dependable, because if the price was closer to our demand zone, we obviously are having a higher probability of moving to the upside. But with the price at a mid-range zone here, the price could easily dump down, hit our demand zone again, get stopped out, and then move to the upside. So let's dive into the 1 hour chart to see what we're able to find here. But the structure, and that's basically what the structure looks like, for me anyways. And then we did add a few more trend lines, but that's basically what we're looking at. So that's that main demand zone. We can delete these zones because, you know, we could talk about the 1 hour chart, talk about the flow and all that stuff, but it's good to start fresh because none of that matters, because the only thing that matters is what could potentially happen in the near future, because that's all we can make money on. You can't really make money looking back at time, obviously. So let's get our trend line here, make the outline of our zone like so. I'm probably going to bring that in actually a little bit. So we got the outline of our zone here. See a price push to the upside, come back down. So we're definitely looking for more, hopefully we want to see the price come back a little bit further down to our support. And then what we could see is a descending zone holding the lower highs. And then we can potentially get a nice entry. So at this point in time, here we can just delete these because they're just mid-range zones, but we don't really need to know exactly where they are. So at this point in time, we are making lower highs and lower lows coming towards the area of support. So let's get this zone right here. So, we formed a lower high, and now we're coming back down to our area of support right here, which for me signifies that I don't want to be looking for longs until we see the price hold an descending level of support and then break it, and then we know exactly what we're looking for in that breakout. We always talk about it. So we have a potential descending zone right here. We got 3 touch zones. It's very, very close, so we don't want to classify that too much. But if we're able to get maybe a 4 touch, if we consolidate a little here and then push down, and then consolidate a little push down, we form something of a market structure similar to that. Then we can say that this descending zone is well respected, and then when the price comes back down and hits this, we'll get some consolidation because the price was moving to the downside. It consolidates, and then we're looking to enter when it starts to push to the upside. We got a nice potential resistance area connecting this zone and this zone, so we got a nice target profit if we do, or take profit if we do actually break that zone, and if we are looking to enter at that specific time. So on Link, that's basically the analysis. Let's just look on the 4 hour here. Go like that. Got a strong level of demand there, so we can really clearly see it on the daily very, very easily. So if we break that, next level is going to be around $3. So we're short if it breaks that zone, but for now I think XRP is in a much better situation to short rather than Link. And then BNB, again, is also in a better place to short. And then Link, in my opinion, is a good opportunity to long if we do get it. Like we said, we know what we're looking for, so it's good to have options in the market. We don't exactly know what Bitcoin is going to do. So if it goes up, we're potentially looking more at Link. Or if it at least consolidates, we'll be looking at Link. And if it breaks down, we'll be looking at BNB or XRP. So that is the analysis for those 3 coins. Just gonna get a little drink of some coffee, and then we'll start off with another analysis. All right, so I will be answering questions at the end. So if you got a question about trading, about Performante, about kind of anything that we're doing, definitely drop a comment and we'll be happy to answer them. We're not going to go over them midway through the video, but we will go over them at the end of the video. So Cardano is next. See a strong level of buy demand right there. Very, very easily noticeable. Strong level of sell pressure right here. Stuff the price. And now we're back down kind of at a key zone here. We're coming up to a key zone. So we will see how the price reacts to this zone here. We also have another one right there. We're kind of mid in a zone, and let's just go drop down right to the 4 hour and put our zone in like so. So it looks like we've just broken the zone. Let's now go to the 1 hour. Yeah, this looks like a really good opportunity for a short here from Cardano. Definitely a lot better than a lot of other pairs that we were looking at. Don't love the fact I don't have a very, very nice trend line to... Don't want to do that. I guess on the 4 hour it looks clean. Yeah, on the 4 hour it looks clean, but on the hour chart it does not look clean whatsoever. So we will... Yeah, that's not super clean on the 1 hour. We might have to reassess. But for now, I'm happy with that. Very, very clear zone that we broke below here. I'm just going to put this zone as well with just the bodies of the candles there. And this is the wicks, and this is the main zone. So that is definitely a short. We do see lots of buy volume here with the rejection, but we do get a slam right back down. So definitely Cardano is looking more of a short in my personal opinion. And the short would be, let's just go to the 4 hour chart here. The short wouldn't be for super long, right? Like the first kind of major level that you're looking at is maybe 6% down. So it doesn't seem like a long distance, but 6% is a pretty significant move. If you're risking 2%, that's a pretty good risk reward. Or if you're risking even less, obviously that's phenomenal, but I'm going to delete that. So that's our zone here. So if we're able to get an entry from around where resistance is right now, if we're able to hold it to our next major level of support, that would be a really good opportunity for us, around 6%. And if we're able to manage our risk to 2%, that would be phenomenal. So that's a short on Cardano for an opportunity here. We got our first wave of sell pressure coming into the market. Fortunately, we see a little bit more buy pressure than I'd like, but we're getting our pullback here to potentially receive our second wave of sell pressure. So we'll see how that goes. EOS is the next one. Saw a strong move to the upside, breaking the market structure, lower high, lower low formation. And strong move. Very, very significant pullback. Just trying to find a nice... I see a nice level right here. It's pretty wide if you really wanted to make it. So we're right within the consolidation here. Next area that I think we'll probably drop to if we do break this area is going to definitely be around here. So we'll incorporate that as well. And the resistance definitely going to be around here, in my personal opinion. So we got our zones here. We see where we are. A lot of wicks on the daily chart, and then looking at the 4 hour, we see we are in kind of a symmetrical triangle here. Let's look on the 1 hour because it definitely looks like we are in a triangle. Let's see if we can find a nice ascending trend line, which is right there. And then we're looking for a descending trend line. Sort of like so. So we got our zone, we got our outline for this symmetrical triangle, so we're just going to trade whichever way it breaks. We got very clean, clear zones that we're working with. If it breaks to the upside, we're looking for a break, higher high, and then we're entering on the higher low. Strong move of around 12%, that would be ideal. And then for a short, yet again, we're looking at 13-14%. So EOS and Cardano is just a short, but EOS is on my watch list for both long and short. So will be definitely something to be to look out for. And let's just see if we can put a trend line here to connect a potential a lower high formation like so. All right. And then we get our projection. And that's kind of going to be our resistance zone if we break to the upside. If we break to the downside, we got a pretty strong level of support. So we got that. We are happy with, well, I'm pretty happy with that right now. And let's just see if we got any zones that we need to know about. Not really. I'm happy with where the current zones are right now. So going to stick with that with EOS. Going to be something to look out for next week on the 1 hour time frame. ADA's just is short, but still something to look out for. I'm interested in EOS and how that will play out for sure. XRP is nice, getting a nice pullback. Link not so much, BNB not so much. XRP is definitely getting a nice little boost of buy pressure here. Going to see if the next wave of sellers are going to be coming in. All right, and then the last two are going to be Litecoin and Ethereum. So we'll start off with Ethereum, and then we'll finish off with Litecoin. And also for anyone watching who just joined, drop a comment, and we'll be sure to go over it at the end of the video. So starting off with the daily. We're just below a zone on the weekly here. Yes, just seems like we're under a zone. But then also I can draw this area and definitely make it seem like we're right at a zone. So I think what I'm going to do is leave that there. Put this area as the major level of supply. Maybe put it down a little bit. And basically keep that like so. And then go on the daily. Now we got our nice zones, and then we'll be able to put a demand zone if the price does fall below the area, which is probably going to be right around here. Because we see buyers step up before, so it's going to be like this. And then we can even make another one where if it goes below that, we probably have a high probability of breaking to this zone because we see it used as a support in the past. So oops. So we see a lot of areas where we could hold, and we got a nice structure for the daily. And then on the 4 hour, we'll look at the minor zones and find where we can potentially put a horizontal zone like so. So we got all of our zones that we're working with. Pretty happy with that. We're seeing the price make lower highs, holding a level of resistance like BTC. Very similar structure to what we're able to see for Bitcoin. We got a nice level of support if we do break this zone. If we do break this zone and we get an entry within this pattern and then break to the next key zone, it's around 10-11%. So it's definitely worth looking into if we are able to see a break. Definitely seeing some decreasing buy volume there. Should have definitely looked at it. But anyways, we'll jump into the 1 hour at this point. Now breaking it down, we can also see a trend line connecting the lower highs on Ethereum. A lot more respected than some of the other alts that we're able to identify. And then I think what I'm going to do is just refine this zone a little bit more so we don't have to have this big chunky thing. We can have a nice clean simple zone that we are going to potentially hold below like so. So that is the current structure of the market. We see our first injection of sell pressure coming in, and then we see another retest. So hopefully if we do get a second wave of sell pressure coming in, we might be looking to potentially enter some of these shorts here because this looks like a pretty damn good pattern. That's the overall analysis for Ethereum. Going to look to potentially short if we do get the price to hold below this zone. Also going to maybe just put, probably not going to put that anything like there. So we'll just see what it does. If we are able to hold this zone, gives me a little bit more confirmation that we could be looking to enter short, except we do have wicks protruding below the zone already at that zone. So definitely something to keep in mind, but I will keep everyone updated. We got 30 minutes until this one closes, so then we'll see what the next candle does. Now for our final alt, starting from the daily, this is Litecoin compared with US Tether. We see a strong zone right here, definitely the first thing I notice. So we're below it. Definitely looking for more shorts, and we also see a nice area right here. So Litecoin's definitely at a place where I feel more comfortable shorting because we've already broken our major structural zone that we need to in order for us to definitely look more for shorts. So Ethereum looks good. Litecoin looks good for a short, so definitely a lot more short options here. But that makes sense because BTC did drop a lot, and the momentum is to the downside. So going to be looking like Ethereum for Litecoin. Very, very similar in terms of what we're looking at here. Just trying to see if I guess that zone works. Let's see on the 1 hour. Yeah, that zone works. I'm happy with that. All right, so that's not perfect. I don't love that trend line where it is. I don't love that anchor point. I don't love the fact that it's way above there. On the 4 hour, it seems to work, so I'll leave it. But on the 1 hour, it's definitely not something that I love having there. So Ethereum is definitely a better option. Litecoin, I like the descending zone if I move it up a little bit. Maybe just to right here. I'm just going to put it like this. Because the other way, I just didn't like that zone getting tapped out. Or we could just move it kind of in the middle like so. I think that's the best option for us here. Oops. Didn't want to move the whole thing. Yeah, we don't really have a good solid anchor point unless we're kind of going from below, like here maybe. Yeah. Not really loving any of the anchor points that we're seeing unless this is kind of the last one that we're going to test. I think this might be the one that we're going to work with. Yeah, it's going to be the one that we're going to work with here. So not perfect, but we got a descending zone. The main thing we're looking for is for the price to hold our new level of resistance. So that's the overall crypto market and BTC market update. We really hope you enjoyed it. EOS looks like a really good opportunity. In my opinion, we've got a lot of opportunities for shorts. If the market does break down, BTC has not fell down below the support yet, so we don't want to have that move yet to take place. In my opinion, I'd rather see a confirmation. Litecoin, Ethereum, very similar structure. We've broken the level of support, retesting as a new level of resistance for both of the structures. EOS, symmetrical triangle, much better price action pattern for a long. ADA is in a similar place as Litecoin and Ethereum. XRP is in a similar situation as Litecoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. BNB is in a better position because we're seeing higher lows. If we do see a break, that's a little bit better, easier to navigate, more simple, clean trend line that we can use to manage our risk and for us to get a good entry on. So I think BNB is a really good option for a short as well. And Link, like I said, is kind of the only one I'm still looking as a potential long here, other than if we break EOS for the resistance, because Link has strong volume accumulation with a strong demand zone. The momentum is to the upside. So Link's kind of the only long opportunity that I'm really looking at, and then EOS is a second, and then BNB is a really good short opportunity, and then we see the rest of them kind of look similar in terms of the price action. XRP, ADA, Litecoin, and Ethereum all look very similar in their price action. So they'll probably all break the same. So we're going to see which way it breaks, and then we'll hopefully get a nice entrance if it breaks to the downside. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this weekend of the crypto and BTC market update. And hopefully we have a good week ahead of us of swing trading and day trading. I think this week is more going to be day trading because unless we get a nice confirmation that there's sellers and then we're able to hold some of these shorts here for a few days, then that would be a good entry for a short. Like BNB, I think is a great entry for a short if we break to the downside there. So I will be looking closely at that. But we will see. I'll let the Performante Premium members know when I'm entering. But at this point in time, I have my eyes on BNB for a short here if BTC is able to break down below a level of support. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, happy trading. Okay, sweet. So I just finished the